The sky above Los Angeles turned dark at 3 in the afternoon, when the massive alien ship blocked out the sun. The ship was bigger than 10 football stadiums put together, and it made a sound like thunder that never stopped. Windows broke in buildings, for miles around, and car alarms went off everywhere. People ran out of their offices and homes to stare up at the huge metal thing floating above their city. Commander Tejo stood at the front of his ship, looking down at the human city below. Had visited 47 different planets in his career as a soldier, but Earth looked different from the others. Most worlds had one big government, or maybe two, but the humans had divided their planet into hundreds of small territories, each one ready to fight the others. It seemed wasteful to him, but also interesting. The ship landed in a huge field outside the city with a crash that made the ground shake for miles. Tejo walked down the ramp first, wearing his best blue armor that sparkled like water in the sunlight. Behind him came 50 of his best soldiers, each one carrying weapons that could destroy a building with one shot. They had not come to fight the humans, but they wanted to look impressive. President Wilson was waiting with a crowd of important people, including generals and scientists and people with cameras. Everyone looked nervous except for a few soldiers who stood straight and calm, like they were ready for anything. Tejo liked that about the humans. They might be scared, but they did not run away. "Hello, people of Earth," Tejo said through his translator device, which made his words sound clear in English. "We come from the Galactic Defense Alliance. We are here to invite your world to join us in fighting a terrible enemy that destroys entire star systems." The president stepped forward, looking official and important. "Welcome to Earth, Commander. We are honored by your visit. Tell us more about this alliance and this enemy you fight." Tejo nodded and began explaining about the shadow creatures that ate planets and stars. The creatures were like living darkness that grew bigger every time they consumed something. They had already destroyed 12 inhabited worlds and thousands of ships. The Alliance needed every warrior they could find to stop them before they reached the core worlds. "Your species shows promise." Tejo continued. "Your people fight each other often, which means you have experience with warfare. This could be useful training for fighting the shadow creatures." However, he paused, looking at the human soldiers nearby. "You seem physically weak compared to most species in our alliance." General Park felt his face get hot when he heard those words. Several other military officers shifted uncomfortably. The alien commander had just called the entire human race weak in front of television cameras that were broadcasting to the whole world. "No offense intended," Tejo added quickly. "Perhaps your warriors could learn much from watching our training methods. We have techniques developed over thousands of years of galactic warfare." The word spread through military bases around the world within hours. Every soldier, sailor, airman, and marine heard about the aliens calling humans weak. Some got angry, others got curious, but most just wanted to prove the aliens wrong. Nobody likes being told they are not good enough, especially by strangers. From space, at Camp Pendleton in California, Staff Sergeant Jin Woo was cleaning his rifle when Private Lee ran up with the news about what the alien commander had said. Jin Woo was 42 years old and had been a Marine for 20 years. He had scars on his arms from fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, and he walked with a small limp from an explosion that had killed 3 of his friends. "What do you think about the aliens calling us weak?" Sergeant Private Lee asked. He was only 19 and still excited about everything. Jin Woo kept cleaning his rifle without looking. "Uptalk is cheap," he said in his calm voice. "Actions are what matter. These aliens have not seen what humans can do when we have to fight. But Sergeant, they have spaceships and energy weapons and armor that can stop bullets. How can we compete with that?" Jin Woo finally looked up at the young Marine son. "I have fought enemies with better equipment than me, more soldiers than me, and more money than me. The reason I am still here talking to you is not because I had the best gear. It is because I knew how to use what I had." Other Marines gathered around to listen because Jin Woo did not talk much. But when he did, people paid attention. He had earned respect the hard way by keeping his soldiers alive in places where many others had died. The thing about fighting, Jin Woo continued, is that it is not about who has the fanciest weapons. It is about who wants to win more. It is about who is willing to do whatever it takes to go home to their family. And it is about who understands that in a real fight there are no rules except survive. Private Kim, who was from Korea, like Jin-woo, asked, but what if they really are stronger and faster than us? What if their technology makes them impossible to beat? Jin-woo smiled for the first time that day. Then we will have to be smarter and meaner and more determined than them. We will have to fight like our lives depend on it, because they will. And we will have to remember that every human who ever lived had to fight for everything they got. Nothing was ever given to us for free. The news reports kept playing clips of Commander Tae-ho talking about human weakness and the need for training. The reporters made it sound like the aliens thought humans were like children who needed to be taught how to fight properly. This made many people angry, but it made soldiers think about what they could do to prove the aliens wrong. That evening, Jin-woo sat outside his barracks looking up at the stars. He could see the alien ship in the distance, with lights blinking on and off. He wondered what those aliens had seen in their travels and what made them think humans were weak. They probably fought wars in space with energy weapons and force fields and computers that could think faster than any human brain. But Jin-woo had learned something in 20 years of being a soldier. Sometimes the side with the best equipment loses because they think their equipment will do the fighting for them. Sometimes the side with the most training loses because they think fighting is like practicing. Sometimes the side that everyone expects to win loses because they do not respect their enemy. He thought about all the battles he had been in and all the enemies he had faced. Some had been better armed, some had been in better shape, some had been smarter, but none of them had been more desperate than the Marines. Jin-woo fought beside when everything went wrong and the bullets started flying and friends started dying. Marines did not give up. They found a way to keep fighting even when it seemed impossible. The aliens think we are weak, Jin-woo said to himself, looking at their ship. But they have never seen a human who has nothing left to lose. They have never seen what we do when someone threatens our home, our family, our brothers in arms. Tomorrow he would go back to training like always, but now he had something extra to think about. He had heard that the alien commander might visit their base to watch Marine training exercises. If that happened, Jin-woo wanted to be ready to show them what humans could really do. He got up and went inside to clean his gear one more time. Everything had to be perfect because you never knew when you might need to prove yourself. And if these aliens wanted to see what human warriors were like, Jin-woo was ready to give them a demonstration they would never forget. 3 days after the alien ship landed, Commander Tae-ho arrived at Camp Pendleton in a smaller spacecraft that moved without making any sound. The Marines had been preparing for his visit since dawn, cleaning every weapon, checking every uniform, and practicing their best drills. Colonel Min wanted everything to be perfect because the whole world would be watching. The alien commander stepped out of his ship wearing different armor this time. It was silver and seemed to change color when he moved like oil floating on water. His soldiers followed him, but they stayed back near their ship, while Tae-ho walked forward to meet the human officers. "Welcome to Camp Pendleton," Commander Colonel Min said with a salute. "We are honored to show you our training methods." "Thank you," Colonel Tae-ho replied through his translator. "I am curious to see how your warriors prepare for battle on a world with such limited resources." The Marines spent 2 hours showing off their best skills. They ran obstacle courses in record time. They shot targets from long distances, they practiced hand-to-hand fighting, and they showed how they could work together as a team. Commander Tae-ho watched everything carefully, sometimes nodding, sometimes making notes on a small device. Private Lee was running the obstacle course when he slipped and fell in the mud, but he got up right away and finished the course even though his time was ruined. Jin-woo watched from the sidelines and felt proud. The kid was learning that Marines do not quit even when things go wrong. Captain Nam, who was in charge of weapons training, demonstrated the new sniper rifle that could hit targets from over a mile away. The alien commander seemed interested in this, but when Captain Nam explained that it took months to train someone to use the rifle properly, Tae-ho just shrugged. After watching everything, the commander was asked what he thought about Marine training. "Adequate," he said in a tone that made every Marine feel insulted. "Your soldiers show decent technique for a species that has only fought on one world. With proper training from our instructors, some might even qualify for support roles in our military forces, Lieutenant." so young, who taught close combat, at the base stepped forward. Perhaps Commander Tae-ho would like to demonstrate some galactic fighting techniques, she said, trying to stay polite. Our Marines are always eager to learn from experienced warriors. The alien commander eyes lit up like he had been waiting for this question. An excellent suggestion, he said. I would be happy to provide instruction. He turned and called to his soldiers. Captain Veltar, come here. A huge alien soldier came forward. He was even bigger than Commander Tae-ho, and his armor was covered with marks that looked like battle scars. Captain Veltar has defeated warriors from 7 different species. Tae-ho announced. He could easily handle 10 of your finest soldiers at the same time. The insult hit every Marine like a punch in the stomach. They had just spent hours showing their best skills, and now this alien was saying one of his soldiers could beat 10 Marines without even trying. Colonel Min felt his jaw muscles tighten, but he kept his face calm. Sir Jin-woo said, stepping forward from the back of the group. Request permission to participate in this training exercise. Colonel Min looked at his best sergeant. Jin-woo was not the biggest Marine or the fastest, but he was the most experienced and the calmest under pressure. If anyone could represent the Marines well, it would be him. Permission granted. Sergeant Captain Veltar studied the human soldier with what might have been amusement. Jin-woo was at least 2 feet shorter than the alien, and his equipment looked like toys compared to galactic weapons. The alien wore armor that could probably stop missiles, while Jin-woo had regular combat clothes and basic body armor. Just you? The alien captain asked. One human soldier thinks he can match a galactic warrior trained since childhood in 43 different fighting styles. Jin-woo's face did not change. One will be enough, sir, but if you prefer more opponents, my brothers would be happy to join. He gestured to the other Marines, who all straightened up ready to volunteer. Private Kim whispered to his friend, "This is crazy. That alien is twice as big as the sergeant, and look at his weapons, they are glowing." His friend, Private Sung, whispered back, "But look at Jin-woo's face. He is not scared at all. Maybe he knows something we do not, Commander." Tae-ho looked amused by the situation. Very well. 1 human against 1 galactic soldier. This should be educational for both species. He paused, then added, "We will use training weapons. Of course, we do not want any permanent injuries." Captain Veltar activated something on his armor, and weapons appeared in his hands. They looked like curved swords made of blue light. The alien began moving in slow circles, doing practice moves that were beautiful to watch, like a deadly dance. "Do you need time to prepare, human?" The alien asked politely. "I can wait while you gather your courage." Jin-woo picked up his rifle and checked it quickly. "Thank you, sir. Already ready." The other Marines started gathering around to watch. Word spread quickly through the base that their best sergeant was about to fight an alien super soldier in single combat. Soon, hundreds of Marines were finding reasons to be near the training area. "This is not about winning or losing," Jin-woo told Private Lee, who looked worried. "This is about showing them what Marines are made of." He loaded rubber bullets into his rifle. "These are for training, but in a real fight the same rules apply." "What rules?" Sergeant Private Lee asked. "Simple rules," Jin-woo said. "Fight smart, fight hard, and go home alive. Everything else is just details." Captain Veltar was still doing his practice moves, which were getting more complex and impressive. His weapons spun around him in patterns that were hard to follow, and he moved like he was floating instead of walking. The alien soldiers watching from their ship were pointing and making sounds that might have been cheering. Colonel Min announced the rules over the loudspeaker. "This is a training exercise, using non-lethal weapons only. The purpose is demonstration of fighting techniques, not actual combat. Medical teams are standing by for both participants." Commander Tae-ho addressed both fighters. "Captain Veltar, please demonstrate our standard combat protocols for our new allies. Sergeant Jin-woo, observe and learn what you can. This knowledge will be valuable when fighting alongside our forces." Both soldiers saluted each other with military respect. Despite the circumstances, they recognized each other as professionals doing their duty. Jin-woo's salute was simple and sharp, while Veltar's bow was elaborate and ceremonial. The alien warrior activated his energy weapons, which extended into glowing blades that made a humming sound. He took a fighting stance that looked like martial arts mixed with dancing. His movements were smooth and hypnotic, clearly the result of years of training. Jin Woo simply raised his rifle to ready position and waited. His stance was basic, practical, and unremarkable, compared to the alien elegant preparations. To the watching aliens, he looked almost motionless while their warrior moved like liquid energy. "You may begin your attack whenever you feel prepared," Captain Veltar called out courteously. His tone suggested he was willing to wait as long as necessary for the human to work up his nerve. Jin Woo's response was so quiet that only the closest Marines heard it, but the microphones picked up his words clearly. "Thank you, sir." "Already done." The alien looked confused. "Already done? What do you mean human?" But Jin Woo just stood there waiting with his rifle ready and his eyes calm, like he was looking at something the alien could not see. The other Marines began to understand that their sergeant was not just standing. There he was already fighting a battle that had not started yet in everyone else's mind. The challenge was set. The alien warrior was ready to demonstrate galactic superiority. The human Marine was ready to show what 20 years of combat experience had taught him. And everyone watching was about to learn something about the difference between fighting for sport and fighting for survival. The news about the challenge between Jin Woo and the alien warrior spread through the military, faster than wildfire. Within 6 hours, every major base in the country had heard about it. Generals were making phone calls to arrange viewing access, and every Marine who could get permission was requesting to watch the demonstration. In Washington, the Joint Chiefs of Staff held an emergency meeting. General Thompson slammed his fist on the table. "This is not just about one sergeant anymore," he said. "This is about whether humanity looks strong or weak to our new alien allies. The whole world will be watching." Meanwhile, in the alien ship, Commander Tai Ho was reviewing video footage of human soldiers fighting in recent wars. His tactical computer showed him dozens of battles from Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and other conflicts. The humans used simple weapons and basic tactics, but they kept fighting even when they were outnumbered and outgunned. "Interesting," he said to his aide, Lieutenant Subin. "These humans do not fight like any species we have encountered. Most civilized races surrender when defeat becomes obvious. But humans seem to fight harder when things get worse." "Should we provide Captain Veltar with training weapons?" Subin asked. His combat claws could accidentally kill the human even on lowest power settings. Taeho thought about this carefully. Use the neural disruptors set to minimum power. He decided they will render the human unconscious without permanent damage. "We want to demonstrate our superiority, not commit murder on live television." In his quarters, Captain Veltar was preparing for the demonstration by practicing combat forms that had been developed over thousands of years. Each movement was precise and beautiful, like a deadly art form. He had defeated champions from 7 different worlds using these techniques, and he expected the human to be impressed before being quickly defeated. The neural disruptors hummed softly as he activated them. These weapons could scramble the nervous system of most known species, causing instant unconsciousness. The human would simply fall asleep and wake up later with nothing worse than a headache. It was actually quite merciful. On the human side of the base, Jin Woo spent his evening in quiet preparation. He sat alone in his room, methodically cleaning every piece of his equipment. His rifle had been cleaned 3 times already, but he cleaned it again anyway. His ammunition was checked and rechecked, even though it was just rubber bullets for training. Private Lee knocked on his door. "Sergeant, can I ask you something?" "Come in," Jin Woo said without looking up from his work. "Are you nervous about tomorrow?" "I mean, that alien is huge and his weapons look like something from a science fiction movie." Jin Woo finally looked up from his rifle. "Son, I learned a long time ago that being nervous does not help you win fights. Being prepared does. So I prepare." "But how do you prepare to fight someone with technology you have never seen before?" Private Lee asked, sitting down on a chair. "The same way you prepare to fight anyone else." Jin Woo replied. "You think about what you need to do to win. You practice until your actions become automatic. And you remember that the other guy puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like you do." Private Lee looked confused. But he is an alien sergeant, he probably does not wear pants. Jin Woo smiled slightly. It is just an expression, kid. The point is that no matter how big or strong, or well-armed someone is, they still have to follow the same rules of physics as everyone else. Bullets still hurt. Energy still has to come from somewhere. And everyone has weaknesses. If you know where to look, what weaknesses could that alien have? Private Lee asked. Jin Woo went back to cleaning his rifle. I will find out tomorrow. But I can tell you one thing already. He has been trained to fight other aliens who use the same kind of weapons and tactics as him. I have been trained to fight humans who will use anything they can get their hands on to kill me. Meanwhile, other Marines throughout the base were having similar conversations. Some were worried that Jin Woo would embarrass the entire Corps by losing badly. Others were confident that their best sergeant would find a way to win. Most were just excited to see what would happen when human and alien fighting styles met for the first time. Sergeant Major Park gathered the senior Marines for a meeting. Listen up, he said. This is bigger than just one fight tomorrow. The whole world is going to see how Marines handle themselves when challenged by a superior force. We need to show them that we do not back down no matter what. The Marines nodded in agreement. They had all heard the alien commander call humans weak, and it had stung their pride. Every Marine in the room had proven himself in combat, and none of them liked being dismissed as inadequate by strangers. From space back in Jin Woo room, the sergeant continued his preparations. He reviewed mental maps of the training area where the fight would take place. He thought about sight lines and cover positions and how to move efficiently in that space. Most importantly, he thought about what the alien expected him to do. The alien thinks this is going to be like a duel, Jin Woo said to himself. Two warriors meeting in honorable combat to test their skills against each other. But I do not fight duels. I fight wars. He pulled out a notebook where he kept tactical notes from his years of combat experience. Page after page contained lessons learned in firefights, observations about enemy behavior and techniques that had kept him alive when others died. Rule Number 1, he read from the first page. The enemy gets a vote in your battle plan. No matter how good your plan is, the other guy is going to do something unexpected. Be ready to adapt. Rule number 7. Never fight fair. If you find yourself in a fair fight, someone made a mistake in planning. Rule number 15. Speed, surprise, and violence of action will overcome almost any disadvantage in equipment or numbers. Jin Woo closed the notebook and looked at his reflection in the mirror on his wall. He saw a middle-aged man with gray hair and scars who had survived 20 years of combat. Not because he was the biggest or strongest or fastest, but because he understood that fighting was about one thing only: going home alive. The alien warrior was practicing beautiful combat forms that looked like dancing. Jin Woo had no doubt that Veltar was skilled and dangerous, but the alien was preparing for a demonstration. Jin Woo was preparing for war. That night, Jin Woo slept well because he had learned long ago that rest was as important as any weapon. A tired soldier made mistakes, and mistakes got people killed. He had done everything he could to prepare. Now all that was left was to show these aliens what a human Marine could do when his pride and his planet honor were on the line. Outside his window, the alien ship glowed softly in the darkness. Inside that ship, Captain Veltar was probably doing the same thing, getting rest before the demonstration. But Jin Woo suspected that the alien had never faced an enemy who fought like a human, someone who had learned that survival mattered more than style, and that winning was more important than looking good while you did it. Tomorrow would be interesting. The morning sun rose over Camp Pendleton to find thousands of people already gathering around the hastily built combat arena. Workers had been up all night constructing bleachers for human observers and a special platform for the alien delegation. Media crews from every major news network had set up cameras and satellite trucks, turning the military base into a circus. Jin Woo woke up at his usual time and went through his normal morning routine. He showered, shaved, and ate breakfast without talking to anyone. Other Marines tried to wish him luck or give him advice, but he just nodded politely and continued his preparations. 20 years of combat had taught him that routine was important before action. The combat arena was 200 meters long and 100 meters wide, with various obstacles and barriers placed throughout to simulate a real battlefield. Concrete barriers provided cover, while metal walls created blind spots and open areas allowed for movement. The whole thing was designed to test combat skills rather than just marksmanship. Private Lee found Jin Woo checking his equipment one final time. "Sergeant, the alien has been practicing with his weapons for an hour already. He moves like nothing I have ever seen." Good, Jin Woo replied without looking up. "Let him practice all he wants." Practice is not the same as fighting. Colonel Min gathered all the Marines who would be watching. "Today you represent not just this base or even the Marine Corps." He said, "You represent humanity itself. Regardless of what happens in that arena, I want everyone to remember that we are Marines. We do not quit, we do not back down, and we do not make excuses." The alien delegation arrived in their silent aircraft and took their positions on the observation platform. Commander Taeho wore ceremonial robes instead of armor and carried what looked like recording devices. Several other alien officers accompanied him, all taking notes and making observations. Captain Veltar emerged from a transport vehicle wearing his full combat armor, which seemed to shift colors from blue to silver to gold as he moved. The armor covered him from head to toe, and his weapons hung at his sides like elegant sculptures. His helmet had a transparent face shield that allowed everyone to see his alien features. Jin Woo walked onto the field wearing standard Marine combat fatigues and body armor. His M4 rifle was loaded with rubber bullets for safety, but otherwise he carried the same gear he would use in any real combat situation. No fancy equipment, no special modifications, just the tools that had kept him alive for 2 decades. The contrast between the two fighters was striking to everyone watching. The alien looked like a character from a science fiction movie, while the human looked like any soldier you might see on a military base. Jin Woo equipment was functional and worn, while Veltar gear seemed to glow with advanced technology. "Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel," Min announced through the loudspeaker system, "we are here today to observe a demonstration of combat techniques between representatives of 2 different military traditions. This is a training exercise using non-lethal weapons. Only medical teams are standing by for both participants." Commander Taeho stood up to address the crowd and the fighters. "This demonstration serves multiple purposes." He said, "First, it allows our species to learn from each other. Second, it shows what each military tradition has to offer. And third, it prepares us for fighting together against enemies that threaten all civilized worlds." The alien commander looked directly at Jin Woo. "Captain Veltar represents thousands of years of galactic military development. His training began in childhood and encompasses combat techniques from across our alliance. Sergeant Jin Woo represents human military traditions developed through countless conflicts on your world." Both warriors acknowledged the introduction with military courtesy. Jin Woo saluted sharply while Captain Veltar performed an elaborate bow that involved several graceful movements. The respect between professional soldiers was evident even across species barriers. "The rules are simple," continued Colonel Min. "This is a demonstration of combat effectiveness using training weapons. Both fighters will attempt to score decisive hits on their opponent. The exercise continues until one participant is clearly defeated or unable to continue. Fighting will stop immediately when the referee calls halt." Captain Veltar activated his neural disruptors, which extended into curved blade shapes crackling with blue energy. The weapons hummed with power and seemed to bend light around them, creating an hypnotic effect. His combat stance was fluid and dynamic, with constant movement that was beautiful to watch. Jin Woo raised his rifle to a ready position and became perfectly still. His stance was basic and practical, without any wasted motion or fancy techniques. To the alien observers, he appeared almost static compared to their warrior flowing movements. Several alien officers exchanged glances that seemed to express concern for the clearly outmatched human. The difference in preparation styles was stark. Veltar moved like he was performing a dance, with elaborate footwork and weapon flourishes that demonstrated his skill and training. Jin Woo stood like a statue, with his rifle ready, and his eyes scanning the arena for tactical advantages. "Begin when ready," called. The referee Veltar continued his flowing movements, building up momentum and preparing for his attack. The neural disruptors left trails of blue light as he spun them in complex patterns. His footwork carried him in circles around the arena as he closed the distance to his opponent. Jinwoo remained motionless, watching and waiting. His finger rested lightly on his trigger, and his breathing was slow and controlled. To most observers, it looked like he was frozen with fear or uncertainty, but the experienced Marines in the audience recognized something different in their sergeant posture. "He is already fighting," Sergeant Major Park whispered to the officer next to him. "Look at his eyes. He is not watching the alien. He is watching the battlefield." The alien warrior called out courteously, "You may begin your attack pattern whenever you feel prepared. Human, I am willing to wait until you gather sufficient courage to engage." The comment was meant to be polite, but it carried an undertone that suggested Veltar expected to wait some time for his obviously nervous opponent to work up the nerve to begin fighting. The alien continued his elaborate preparations, apparently in no hurry to end what he expected to be a brief demonstration. Jinwoo's response was barely audible, but the microphones caught it clearly. "Thank you, sir. Already begun." Captain Veltar paused in his movements, looking confused. "What do you mean, human? I do not see any attack." The alien looked around the arena as if expecting to see something he had missed, but Jinwoo had not moved from his position. Several Marines in the audience began to smile slightly. They understood something that the aliens did not. Jinwoo was not preparing to fight. He was not getting ready to attack. He was not building up courage or momentum. He was already fighting a battle that existed in his mind, where he had identified targets, planned movements, and calculated firing solutions. The only thing left was to execute a plan that had been forming since he first stepped onto the field. The alien warrior resumed his preparations, expecting the human to eventually make some kind of dramatic attack, or at least move from his static position. But Jinwoo continued to stand perfectly still, watching and waiting for the right moment. What the aliens did not understand was that human combat doctrine emphasized efficiency over style. The most effective attack was often the one your enemy never saw coming. And the best time to strike was when your opponent was distracted by his own preparations. Jinwoo had already won the fight in his mind. Now all he had to do was prove it. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations to come. The human audience saw Jinwoo suddenly explode into violent motion, but the alien observers initially missed the true significance of his actions. They were watching for dramatic combat techniques and ceremonial fighting forms, not the brutal efficiency of battlefield tactics. In the first second, Jinwoo's rifle was already firing his first shot before Captain Veltar even realized the demonstration had begun. The rubber bullet struck the alien center mass right where his heart would be if he were human. At the same time, Jinwoo was already moving to his left toward a concrete barrier that would provide cover. The alien warrior tried to understand what was happening. He had been expecting some kind of formal challenge, or at least a warning that the human was ready to begin. Instead, bullets were suddenly hitting his armor from a direction he had not been watching. His beautiful combat forms were useless when his opponent was fighting from a distance. By the second, Jinwoo had fired 3 more shots while moving to his new position. Each bullet hit exactly where it was aimed. Center mass headshot, and another center mass. The alien neural disruptors were designed for close combat, but human weapons could reach across the entire arena. Veltar began running toward his opponent, but he was already too late. Jinwoo had positioned himself behind cover and was engaging multiple imaginary targets around the alien position. He fired at spaces where enemy soldiers might be hiding and at angles where they might try to flank him. To everyone watching, it looked like he was shooting at empty air, but in his mind, the arena was full of hostile aliens. The third second showed why human soldiers trained for multiple enemy engagements, while the alien fought like he was in single combat. Jinwoo treated every engagement as if he was outnumbered and surrounded. He fired shots that would have killed theoretical enemies approaching from different directions while keeping his primary target suppressed. Captain Veltar finally got close enough to use his energy weapons, but when he reached the position where Jinwoo had been, the human was no longer there. The sergeant had moved again, this time to a flanking position that put the alien between him and another barrier. Now Veltar was caught in the open with no cover. During the 4th second, the fundamental difference between ceremonial combat and warfare became clear. Veltar had trained to fight opponents who used similar weapons and followed similar rules. His techniques were designed for elegant single combat between equally equipped warriors. Jin Woo had trained to kill multiple enemies quickly with limited ammunition. The alien swung his neural disruptors in wide arcs that would have been devastating against an opponent fighting at close range, but Jin Woo was fighting from a distance using cover and concealment to stay alive while delivering accurate fire. The alien beautiful techniques looked impressive, but they were not designed for this kind of engagement. Jin Woo transitioned smoothly from his rifle to his sidearm, while moving to yet another position. He had already calculated that in a real fight, his rifle ammunition might be limited and he would need backup weapons. The alien was still trying to close the distance, but human tactics assumed that closing distance was dangerous. By the 5th second it was over. Jin Woo had demonstrated the core principle of human warfare: end the fight as quickly as possible with maximum efficiency. While the alien had been performing combat art, the human had been conducting a military operation, designed to eliminate threats and survive. Exercise complete. Jin Woo announced calmly, his sidearm lowered but still ready. 10 confirmed kills in 5 seconds, sir. The arena fell completely silent. Captain Veltar stood in the middle of the combat area, his ceremonial armor marked with a dozen rubber bullet impacts. Each mark represented what would have been a fatal wound in actual combat. His energy weapons hummed uselessly in his hands, designed for a type of fighting that had never happened. Commander Taeho stared at his tactical computer, which had been recording and analyzing the entire engagement. The data showed that the human had moved with calculated precision rather than impressive speed. He had fired with deadly accuracy rather than overwhelming firepower. Most disturbing of all, he had fought as if facing 10 opponents instead of just one. I do not understand, Captain Veltar said, removing his helmet. His alien features showed confusion and something that might have been respect. Your weapons are primitive chemical projectiles. Your armor provides minimal protection. How did you achieve such decisive results? Jin Woo set his rifle down carefully before answering. Sir, our weapons are designed to kill efficiently at long range. Our tactics assume we are facing multiple enemies who want us dead. Every human soldier trains to fight outnumbered, because that is the reality of combat on our world. The alien commander slowly walked around the arena, studying the impact marks on walls and barriers. Each bullet hole showed where Jin Woo had positioned shots to account for theoretical enemies that existed only in his tactical planning. The human had not just defeated one opponent. He had fought an entire squad simultaneously. You fought as if there were 10 warriors in this arena, Commander Taeho observed. There were, Sir. Jin Woo replied. In my mind, I was engaging your entire honor guard at once. Human combat doctrine assumes every enemy we cannot see is still out there waiting to kill us. This was a training exercise with safety rules. Real combat has no safety rules. Only survivors. Captain Veltar approached the human with obvious respect. Sergeant, I have trained since childhood in combat techniques from across the galaxy. I have defeated champions from 7 different worlds, but I have never faced an opponent who treated our single combat as a battlefield engagement against multiple enemies. The alien extended his hand in what appeared to be a gesture of respect. Jin Woo accepted the handshake while Colonel Min and the other human officers tried not to look too pleased with the results. Sir Jin Woo said to the alien captain with respect, you were trained for sport combat and ceremonial dueling. Humans train for war. When someone challenges a Marine, they are not just fighting one person. They are fighting every lesson learned by every Marine who came before us. The demonstration had ended, but its implications were just beginning. The aliens realized that humans did not just have potential as soldiers. They had developed combat methods that could change how galactic warfare was conducted. Humans understood that their equipment might be primitive, but their tactics were evolved for the kind of brutal, efficient fighting that had shaped their entire species. As the crowds began to disperse, Jin Woo simply cleaned his weapons and prepared to return to normal duties. For him, this had been just another day at work, demonstrating Marine combat effectiveness. But across the galaxy, military leaders would soon be asking their strategists to study human tactical methods. The challenge had been answered decisively. Earth was ready to join the galactic community not as students learning from superior aliens, but as teachers of a very deadly and effective curriculum. that had been written in the blood of human conflicts across thousands of years of warfare. The silence that followed Jin Woo's announcement stretched for almost a full minute before anyone in the arena spoke again. Captain Veltar stood perfectly still in the center of the combat area, his advanced armor marked with rubber bullet impacts that represented fatal wounds in actual combat. His energy weapons powered down automatically, sensing that the engagement was over. Finally, the alien warrior removed his helmet completely, revealing features that somehow managed to express both confusion and growing respect. He had trained for decades in combat arts that suddenly seemed almost decorative, compared to the brutal efficiency he had just witnessed. "I do not understand," he said slowly. "Your weapons are simple chemical projectile systems. Your armor provides only basic protection. By every measure, our technology should provide overwhelming advantages." Jin Woo picked up his rifle and checked it one final time before responding. "Sir, our weapons are designed to kill efficiently at range. Our tactics assume we are outnumbered, outgunned, and fighting for our lives. Every human soldier trains to engage multiple enemies because that is the reality of warfare." On Earth, Commander Tae-ho descended from his observation platform, his expression thoughtful and perhaps slightly troubled. "You fought as if there were 10 opponents in that arena," he said, studying the bullet impact patterns on the walls and barriers. "There were," Sir Jin Woo replied. "Matter-of-factly, in my mind I was engaging your entire honor guard simultaneously. Human combat doctrine assumes every enemy we cannot see is still present, just hidden." He gestured around the arena. "This was a demonstration with safety rules. Real combat has no rules except survival." The alien commander walked slowly around the combat area, examining each bullet impact point. The marks showed where Jin Woo had positioned shots to account for multiple theoretical enemies approaching from different angles. The human had not just defeated one opponent, he had fought an entire squad in his tactical planning. "Your species fights differently than any we have encountered," Tae-ho admitted. "Most galactic civilizations developed combat arts for honorable single combat or large formation battles. You fight as if every encounter is a desperate struggle against impossible odds." Colonel Min stepped forward, his pride in his Marines evident but controlled. "Commander, humans have spent thousands of years fighting each other. We learned to be efficient because inefficiency means death. Our warriors do not fight for honor or glory. They fight to win and return home alive." Captain Veltar approached Jin Woo with respect that transcended species boundaries. "Sergeant, I have trained since childhood in 17 different combat disciplines. I have defeated champions from 7 worlds. But I have never faced an opponent who treated our duel as a battlefield engagement against multiple enemies." Jin Woo accepted the alien handshake. "Sir, with respect, you were trained for sport combat. Humans train for war. When someone challenges a Marine, they are not just fighting one person. They are fighting every lesson learned by every Marine who died, teaching us those lessons. Every tactical innovation born from necessity. Every technique developed to keep soldiers alive when everything goes wrong." The implications of the demonstration rippled through both human and alien military leadership like shockwaves. The aliens realized that humans did not just have potential as auxiliary troops, they had developed combat methodologies that could revolutionize galactic warfare. The human approach was not just different, it was evolved through constant conflict. Private Lee, who had been watching from the Marine section, whispered to his friend, "Did you see how fast he moved? Everything looked normal, but suddenly the alien was getting shot from 3 different positions." His friend Private Kim nodded. The sergeant did not fight faster. He fought smarter. He was already thinking 3 moves ahead while the alien was still doing his pretty sword dance. Sergeant Major Park gathered the senior Marines who had witnessed the engagement. "That demonstration just changed everything," he said quietly. "Our tactics, our training methods, our entire approach to combat. The aliens came here thinking they would teach us. Now they are going to be asking us to teach them back in the arena." Commander Tae-ho was making notes on his recording device that would eventually reach the highest levels of galactic military command. "Recommend immediate integration of human tactical concepts into all combat corps training programs." He spoke into the device. "These warriors do not fight like any species in our alliance. They fight like they expect to die, and that expectation makes them uniquely dangerous to enemies. Captain Veltar was examining his armor where the rubber bullets had struck. Each impact point represented a lesson in human warfare. Center mass shots for quick kills, headshots for immediate incapacitation and precise placement that assumed the target might be wearing armor or have alien anatomy. How do you train soldiers to think like this? He asked Jin. Wu, how do you prepare minds for this kind of tactical complexity? 20 years of people trying to kill me. Jin Wu replied simply. Every firefight, every ambush, every time friends died because we made mistakes. We learned that pretty techniques get you killed. Quick, efficient, brutal methods keep you alive. The alien warrior nodded slowly, understanding beginning to dawn in his expression. You do not train for combat as an art form. You train for combat as survival. That is correct, sir. Jin Wu confirmed. We train like our lives depend on it because they do. And we train like our brothers' lives depend on it because they do. When Marines fight, we fight for each other, not for glory or honor, but because the person next to us needs to go home to their family. Commander Tai Ho finished his recordings and approached both warriors. This demonstration has been more educational than I anticipated, he announced Sergeant Jin Wu. You have shown us that advanced technology means nothing without advanced tactics. Captain Veltar, you have learned that there are many ways to approach combat, and perhaps our methods have become too focused on tradition. The alien commander paused, looking around at the human Marines who were beginning to disperse back to their regular duties. I came here expecting to recruit primitive warriors who needed our guidance. Instead, I find that we may need your guidance more than you need ours. Colonel Min stepped forward diplomatically. Commander, both our species have much to learn from each other. Perhaps this is the beginning of a truly beneficial alliance. Indeed, Tai Ho agreed. But I suspect that when our enemies encounter human tactical methods for the first time, they will be as surprised as Captain Veltar was today. The shadow creatures have never faced opponents who fight like cornered animals with advanced weapons. As the demonstration officially ended and the crowds dispersed, Jin Wu simply collected his equipment and prepared to return to normal duties. For him, this had been just another training exercise, another chance to demonstrate Marine capabilities. But the effects would ripple across the galaxy. Within days, every major military academy in the Galactic Alliance would be requesting copies of the engagement recordings. Human tactical manuals would be translated into dozens of alien languages, and military theorists would spend years analyzing the philosophical differences between honor combat and survival warfare. Private Lee caught up with Jin Wu as he walked back toward the barracks. Sergeant, do you think this changes anything? Do you think the aliens respect us now? Jin Wu considered the question carefully. Son, respect is not something you can demand or even ask for. Respect is something you earn by doing your job well. He shouldered his rifle and continued walking. And Marines have been earning respect for over 200 years by doing the hard jobs that need doing. The alien ship would depart the next morning. But the relationship between humans and the Galactic Alliance had fundamentally changed. Humans were no longer seen as primitive warriors needing guidance. They were recognized as possessing combat knowledge that could benefit the entire alliance. As Jin Wu cleaned his rifle, that evening he reflected on the day events the aliens had come expecting to find students. Instead, they found teachers. And when the shadow creatures eventually encountered human tactical methods in actual combat, they would discover what Captain Veltar had learned today. Fighting humans was very different from fighting anyone else in the galaxy, because humans had learned to fight like every battle might be their last and every enemy might have friends waiting in the shadows. And that kind of fighting was something that could not be taught in any academy, only learned through experience that most beings would not survive. The challenge had been answered. An Earth place in the galactic community was secured not through submission but through demonstration of capabilities that even advanced alien civilizations had never developed. The universe was about to become a much more dangerous place for humanity enemies.